going on, Jerome's? So free agency is very important for the Minnesota Vikings this year, and it could get interesting as the Vikings have around $36 million cap space to spend as of right now. And if the Vikings don't bring back Kirk Cousins or Danielle Hunter, absent their contracts, even though they have a void year dead cap hits, it's already cooked into the books, Vikings could have some cash to spend, as well as if they extend JJ, lower his fifth-year option, all that stuff. So the Vikings could and should be players in free agency this offseason. And the franchise tag window open and closed, grand opening, grand closing, and the deadline was today, and a handful of players were tagged and some were not. And let's talk about how this affects the Vikings, because that's what it always comes down to. How does this affect me? Because I'm important here. That's right, man. So players who got tagged. Also note that Kyle Duggar, safety for the Patriots, got transition tagged, but he's transitioning. So for franchise players, Baltimore Ravens tagged Justin Madubuike, which it's unfortunate. Absolute premier defensive tackle, and he would have been great against the run, and also had a career high in sacks this year. An absolute powerhouse, a pride of Texas A&M. Would have been great. Didn't work out. The Panthers decided to franchise tag Brian Burns. But Brian Burns cannot get away from Carolina. So they were offered 2 first-round picks and change from the Rams for Burns, and they're just like, no. Now they're just going to franchise tag him. I don't know. I mean, this feels like a tag and trade situation. Feels like Burns is going to force their hand, but I mean, they're probably not even going to get a first-round pick at this point. I mean, even though, yes, the non-exclusive franchise tag means you can have negotiate and get 2 first-round picks. Never happens. Never happens that way. So this could be like a tag and trade for a second-round pick, which could be intriguing. Now, most of these players I'll take completely off the board for the Vikings, because I don't see the Vikings spending draft capital, especially what it would take to get some of these guys to land them and then pay them. I just don't think it's going to be in the cards for the Vikings this offseason. And then Jalen Johnson of the Bears. So they're hoping to get a long-term deal done with him. He's turned into one of the best cover corners in the league, former second-round pick out of Utah. T. Higgins, old news, whatever. They're never going to pay him. They need cash to pay Jamar Chase. But I don't know. Like, I feel like T. Higgins is going to be really interesting. And of course, we Vikings fans have bad memories of T. Higgins. Pittman, I don't know. Like Michael Pittman Jr. doesn't really move the needle for me either way, but maybe the Colts will get a long-term deal done. The Jaguars franchise tag Josh Allen. Now, by doing that, I mean, does that take Jacksonville off the table in terms of teams that could sign Danielle Hunter? Maybe. It's possible, even though Danielle's been tied with Jacksonville for years at this point now. L'Jarius Sneed, unfortunately, got tagged in Kansas City. Certainly would have entertained bringing him in if he kept his helmet on, if he was a true free agent. But this also means that Chris Jones, offensive tackle, powerhouse, is a true free agent. And even though he's 30, and even though he's probably going to cost $30 million per year, I don't know. He is the great equalizer in the middle, man. I don't know. And then lastly, the Bucks, they tag Winfield Jr. So dream is dead. It's over. It's finito. Now, there's some talk that they could work out a long-term deal, which, so I forget when the deadline is, when franchise tag players could work out a long-term deal. It's later on. It's after the draft. But I think some of these guys will work out a long-term deal with some of their respective teams, which is sort of is what it is. Players, now more importantly, players who did not get tagged and the Vikings could and should be involved in. Schefter, Chris Jones, like we just talked about, he just plays balls out, as evidence at the combine, man. Christian Wilkins, now that's the guy that I want leadership, quick first step, great against the run too. The captain, he's just fantastic. And I think that him being Brian Flores' first draft pick when he was head coach in Florida, in Miami, back in the day. I mean, Miami's technically in Florida. Doesn't matter. But the pride of Clemson, bring it on in. Bring it on in, man. Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, both were tagged last year. Were not tagged for a second time. They hit free agency. Now, I mean, I'll be interested in bringing in, actually, I would lean more Jacobs than Barkley. Jacobs a little bit is a year younger and 2 years removed from being Russian champ. But also, I think that he could be slightly cheaper. But I guess we'll find out. But I'm not really interested in breaking the bank at running back, even though, I mean, Jacobs or Barkley would be an upgrade. Although, I mean, I got faith in Ty Chandler, and you can get probably a better, pure power back, younger power back in the draft. Estime, Braylon Allen. etc. Trey Benson, maybe. Michael Onwenu for the Patriots. Now, this one's interesting. So, Onwenu, a Michigan man, former 6th-round pick. He's been fantastic, moving all along the Patriots' offensive line, guard, tackle, wherever. I think his best position is guard. So, say the Vikings don't bring back Reisner. Do they make a big-time play for Onwenu? Now, Onwenu's going to get paid, probably tier 1 guard money, but he's worth it. Don't care at this point. We want to get back to ass. We want to get back to power. Onwenu, certainly be interesting. And now Baker. So with the Buccaneers using the franchise tag on Winfield, they can't use it on Baker. So he is technically a free agent right now. But it does seem like the vibes are that they're going to run it back in Tampa Bay. I think that Winfield Jr. will get a long-term deal done. I think that Mayfield will get a long-term deal done with the Buccaneers as well. But, I mean, it's a non-zero chance. With Kirko probably leaving and signing with the Falcons, I mean, Mayfield could be in play for the Vikings, but also he could be in play for basically everywhere else that didn't get Kirk Cousins. Ridley, whatever. And then, the wide receiver of the Jaguars. And then Xavier McKinney, safety from the Giants. No interest there. But, so it's really interesting to see who got tagged, who didn't, and all of the reasoning and politics behind it. But now it's time. It's time, man. And Kwesi has frankly done a very good job these last 2 off seasons, shedding some bad veteran contracts, some aged players from this rooster, freeing up cap space. And as of right now, like, say the Vikings don't run it back with Kirk or Daniil, and everything else being the same. As of right now, they're projected to have about $102 million in cap space in 2025. So, people give Kwesi a lot of flack, sometimes rightfully so, sometimes not. But he is clearing up the books, and the Vikings are always in good cap health because of Rob Brzezinski, and now it's time to spend. Now it's time to go get your guys, supplement this rooster, absolutely nail the quarterback of the future in the draft. I have a very solid rest of the draft. Flores having a say, or basically controlling the defensive side of the ball into the draft would certainly help, but but your thoughts are thoughts. Franchise tag, who got tagged, who didn't, and how that most importantly affects the Vikings. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.